To my panel this morning, lawyer and broadcaster Andrew Eborn is here, and former detective at Greater Manchester Police and now founder of the Maggie Oliver Foundation. Maggie Oliver. Right, Andrew, Christmas parties, all looking forward to them. We're not allowed to call them Christmas parties.
It is the civil service guide to a woke Christmas party. Even that, by its very name, is causing problems. What's been apparently happened is civil servants have been told to refer to Christmas parties as festive celebrations so that you don't upset people who don't want to celebrate Christmas. And so the whole thing has gone crazy. So Frosty the Snowman becomes Frosty the Snow Person. You work on that sort of basis. They're even telling you in what's called the official civil service faith and belief toolkit to be mindful of people. Now, I totally get it. You have to respect people from different faiths, different beliefs, and so on and so forth. When you're celebrating a particular religious festival, the name is in the title. So in the same way as we celebrate Diwali, the festival of light, we don't tell them to change that. We don't tell people, Hanukkah, we're going to call it something else. This is a Christmas party. We should be able to celebrate it. And it's nonsense, woke nonsense, to turn around and say we shouldn't do it. Well,
this is a bit, Maggie, what June Slater was saying earlier about so much of our political landscape has been completely overrun by the civil service. And it's the civil service issuing this directive.
I'm fed up of people telling us what to do, what we can say, where we can go, how we can do it. Leave people to make their own minds up. You know, Chinese New Year, fantastic. You know, Eid, fantastic. I worked in Mossad and Russia, and it was an amazing festival. So this is about, you know, we are a multicultural country, but we are actually a Christian country as well. So let people use their own common sense. If you don't want to go into a pub, don't go in a pub. But don't try and prevent everybody else from living their life. I'm just sick of it.
Well, sometimes it feels like the move towards diversity, it's diverse except unless you are Christian, British, white. That's what we can't seem to be able to be allowed.
I have to say, what I loved... No, you're absolutely right. When we had the Olympics in 2012, Boris always used to make the speech. Every time he trotted out, he would always turn around and say, we are probably the most diverse city in the world, where we can welcome people from any part, any corner of the world, probably by a little community, their own language, their own cuisine, their own religion, whatever it happens to be. And we are incredibly diverse. We're incredibly welcoming as a thing. As soon as you start imposing restrictions on other people, that's when you get it wrong. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. That's what you do, and work on that sort of premise.
One of the lines from this article, Andrew, if I borrow your copy, is the fact that they suggest that if one person find a venue that does not serve alcohol because one member of staff does not drink. I mean, I would say go to the pub, but maybe don't force the person who doesn't drink to drink. That would be bad. That's not what we're saying.
Definitely, but maybe ask Boris and all that crowd when they had us locked up, you know, looking out the window and drinking water on our own. They're all partying and having, you know, birthday cake and drinks. This is rules being set by people, you know, do as I say, not as I do. And, yeah, I think as a country, we have had enough of people trying to control. Leave us to make sensible decisions for ourselves and be inclusive, but welcoming to people who want to come here. But
the whole thing is about respect, but also you can respect people who might want to have a drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can work on that sort of basis.
It says try to make sure the preferences and individuals do not let anybody feel excluded.
Yes.
That you know. But I think in actuality, most people just want a bit of a Christmas do.
Yes.
They're not. Nobody's trying to make anybody feel excluded. Everyone just wants to get along and have a nice time.
And you're absolutely right. And also, it's interesting because the whole thing about woke started as a good thing. It meant that you were aware, you're awake to people and diversity. It turned into a bad thing because of these extreme examples. When the minority dictate what other people should do. So woke used to be a good word, it's now a bad word as a result.
So, Strep A, we keep hearing this in the press a lot, and obviously some children have lost their lives to this. But the latest take on this is that the government are considering school closures. Some people are suggesting school closures. Maggie, what do you think?
Bonkers. You know, when my kids were little, and I've got 4, I used to think it was great for them to crawl around the floor and, you know, build your immune system. And, you know, life is risky. Infection is there. We need strong immune systems. And I think that this is the result of COVID lockdowns. It isn't as a result of COVID. It is a result of decisions being made that have isolated us. locked us away from what is a normal part of life. And when you read that story, it's another opportunity for the big pharmaceutical companies to make a killing on the back of people who need it. These are basic antibiotics which are now unavailable. Isn't that really convenient?
Well, it's awful, isn't it, really? There's a few angles to this story, and particularly, Andrew, this idea that the drug companies are now hiking up the prices of antibiotics.
Yeah, they're talking about shortages and so on and so forth, and the normal price which they quote in there, they say about 3 or 4 times as much, which, of course, is scandalous. What's also amazing is that we live in an era where we're drowning in a sea of information, most of which is false, and everybody's an expert. And so everybody was coming to a virologist when we talked about the lockdown with corona and so on and so forth. Same with Strep A. The reality is, when I was young, we used to have things like measles parties. Do you remember those?
Yeah, and chickenpox parties.
Chickenpox, that's what you do. You get people together because you have to be exposed, because I'm a lawyer, not a doctor, but you have to be exposed to these different things because that builds up the immune system. And if you're not on that sort of basis, you're going to miss out. And so I think there have been 16 tragic deaths as a result of it. It is appalling. Each and every one of those, our heart goes out to those people. We need to do it, but we need sensible, informed decisions as a result.
I think the other thing I'd say is that, you know, they report 16 deaths. I don't know whether that's normal.
That's right, out of context.
It's not in context, you know. So
I think it is more than normal, but Strep A has, I believe, always been a risky infection to children. But you're right, compared to what would normally be the cost of this, I think it's... This also raises another issue, though, about the loss of the pharmacy on the high street. Right. That's what we're going to see. I was in my local pharmacy recently. Lovely Sue at Busby's, and she said, come in here and have a look at this. And she showed me a list on the back of her office of all the drugs and the prices that they pay for the drug and the prices that they get back from Public Health England and from the NHS department. And she said, we are making a loss on all of these drugs. There's over 200 drugs. She said, because what we're buying them for, the pharmaceutical companies, we are not being reimbursed by the government. And there's a statistic that they think about 600 pharmacies will have to close, independent pharmacies on our high streets, by February or March next year.
I mean, we are going to a world where we are increasingly having little choice in what we do. And we're allowing these big, whether it's big pharmaceuticals or whether it's the gas and the electric, you know, all these companies have got a monopoly now. There is no competition. And it feels to me at my age that we are trapped in a world without choice very often. And we're being pushed down a road that I don't want to go down. This is a normal... Obviously, any child that dies from this, it's a tragedy. But you need to have it in context. And amoxicillin and penicillin are basic drugs that should be available in today's world.
OK, thank you, guys. Right, that is the end of our first hour. We're coming up to 11 o'clock. I will be right back after this short break.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News.